Yes. Hi there, Warriors, and welcome back to the Uruguayan Heroes YouTube channel. And we are here today to preview Uruguay's game against Colombia, a game which we have played a few months ago as well. Wasn't a great outcome, a lot of controversy, but now we're back. Different stakes, different competition, and hopefully Uruguay can get back to winning ways after not scoring for 4 games, losing away to Peru, and 3 other draws. So, joining me to talk about this game, to look ahead, to talk about the team news, is Daniel. Hello, Daniel. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. You brought up a really, really tough point there. The last time we faced Colombia, I was at the stadium
Yeah.
and, we got attacked by the Colombian fans. So, I've been calm these last few months, but you just brought up those memories and, oof, you got my blood boiling. So I'm ready to talk some soccer and I'm ready for tonight's game.
I completely forgot actually that you were at the game. You just not brought it up. I completely forgot about that. So yeah, that for you must be still these feelings must be there still because it was like a frustrating night for footballing reasons, but also an infuriating night for other reasons. What you probably experienced in the stadium. But yeah, we maybe touch on that a little bit, but I think we'll mainly focus on the game. So the team news now, as we've seen it, and Rodrigo Vasquez is quite a reliable journalist when it comes to Uruguay team news. I think he's mainly national, right, in terms of what he's reporting on. Yeah,
Yes.
okay, but he's quite reliable, and he has stated, and I will just get his tweet here, that Rodrigo Aguirre, the Club America striker, who has received his first call up this week, could make his debut, and actually is now making his debut because he is starting, according to his report, and that means that he either will play at number 10, which is the suggestion right now, or he will couple up with Darwin as a number 9. But knowing Bielsa, it's quite unlikely, I guess, because Bielsa wants Darwin as his sole number 9. Yeah, what was your first reaction when you heard of this news?
I'm not gonna lie, man. I was excited. I was happy. There's a lot of us within the Uruguayan soccer community who have maybe grown tired. Others earlier than me. I have to admit, I've been rightly so. I don't want to say attacked, but I've been rightly so called out on social
Sorry,
media
sorry.
for supporting Bielsa. No, no, no. It's
No,
it's
I'm
it's it,
joking. I'm
it's it's
joking.
all good. It's
Yeah.
all good. I mean, just I thought he needed a little bit more time with his players, but I think that era is over. I now am on board. I am done with Brian Rodriguez. I'm done with Facundo Torres. I'm done with Kike Olivera. And look, Rodrigo Aguirre is having a great year right now for America. He's playing in that kind of false 9, kind of 10 role for them right now. And I'm excited to see somebody else in that role that's not one of the guys that I just mentioned. So I was excited when I heard that news about what, like an hour ago.
Okay. No, yeah, I'll respond to that because I think we mostly differ in how we look at things. That probably makes for a good stream right now. But Facundo Gonzalez says, "What's up? How are you all, Famos Uruguay? We have to win today." Hello, Facundo, and thanks for being here. By the way, appreciate it. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, at home in a World Cup qualifier, Uruguay always should aim to win. That's. I mean, that's just kind of an open door, obviously, but it's true, and for sure now it's true because Ecuador and Paraguay. I think they're both level on points right now. Um, and the threat of not qualifying for the World Cup is obviously way less than it used to be because of the amount of spots that have been assigned to South America at the moment. But still, you don't want to finish sixth or seventh. That's certainly not seventh because you have to go into intercontinental playoff, obviously. But Uruguay should be ahead of Ecuador and Paraguay, even though these are two good sides, by the way, growing sides with good young players. But still, so that's why Uruguay, for me, have to win because you will level on points with Colombia. You're 3 points off Argentina, and then it looks much better. Because if you don't win today and you go into the Brazil game away in Brazil, and obviously they are not doing well at the moment, but still, if you go into the game without winning today against Colombia and you suffer another defeat there, you've got no wins if you don't win today either in 6 in the qualifiers. I'm not sure that happened many times, by the way. Even under Tabares' darkest days, it didn't happen a lot, and you have Paraguay and Ecuador potentially overtaking you, so it's not good. So for to change the momentum, the feeling among the fans, a win today is big, and to go back into the Aguirre discussion, is that the right decision? I don't think it is actually. Um, I appreciate the fact that he has been given this opportunity, and I appreciate the fact that he's in good form in Club America, but it's still Mexican football, and that's not meant in a bad way. But if you look at Brian Rodriguez, who is doing exceptionally well in Mexican football, certainly this Clausura, because he's also had tournaments where he didn't appear that much. But it's not quite a good barometer to judge players on and to say, well, you can now arrive at the national team and do well. And the same is for the MLS. When you look at Kike Oliveira, for example, who's been nominated for the Young Player of the Year award over there at Uruguay, he's not been able to do anything. So I don't think this was the right moment to give Aguirre the opportunity. My opinion was that why on earth are you not playing Ugarte, Bentancur, Valverde, pack the midfield against a strong midfield that Colombia have, and allow Luciano to come in to have his opportunity instead of Pelistri, because I think Pelistri has been uninspiring for the last few games. I would prefer that in this occasion, because now what you have is, how are we going to play? Is Aguirre actually going to play like not as a number 10, but like a medium 9, like behind Darwin a little bit? Is this going to happen?
That sounds like the plan. And look,
yeah,
I was only referring to when I talked, I was only referring to the fact of that Aguirre was starting over Rodriguez. Now, I'm with you 150%. I thought that the starting midfield should be Ugarte at the 5, and then Valverde and Bentancur a little bit above him, to allow them both to be the box-to-box midfielders and allow Ugarte to kind of play a little bit closer to the defensive line and kind of get the ball out to the midfield. Now, in terms of Pelistri and Luciano, I agree with you too. I think it's time that maybe Luciano gets an opportunity to start at the right wing. Although he's not scoring a lot in the Brazilian league, he is playing. And he is, making some nice plays. I see you reposting a lot of his stuff, and I see some of his highlights in Bahia. So look, I'm open for it, and that's why I kind of said, hey, I'm open to Aguirre starting, just because it's another option. And seeing as neither Jordan de Rascaeta, Nico de la Cruz were on the roster this time around, I thought, okay, if you're not going to start Ugarte, I would much rather have Aguirre in there over Brian Rodriguez, just because of what we've seen.
It's a fair point. No, because you obviously reacted to the fact that I was saying Aguirre is playing instead of Brian Rodriguez. So I get what you're saying now. And I agree with that, by the way, because for me, I like Brian. I've always liked him. But it's just true that he's not been able to live up on the potential that he once had. I mean, he came through for Uruguay in 2019 when he was one of the stars of the under-20 side. And I remember him scoring like 3 or 4 goals in his first 5 games, playing exceptionally well away at Hungary when they inaugurated their national stadium in front of 60,000 people there. And we all want to see that Brian. But if it's not happening, which has not happened, and Kike Oliveira is the same. Facundo Torres, I would be a little bit more lightly, because he has not received the same opportunities as the other two. But these guys, if they're not being able to grab their opportunity with both their hands, then I agree with you that in saying that perhaps someone else comes in and, has the opportunity to show that he deserves to be in a team. But Aguirre, I think, is a mismatch, because Aguirre, although, apparently he is doing well in like a more, not as a pure number 9, it's still not someone you would, or I would like to see in a more associative and creative role, as because I don't think he's that type of player.
No, but there's a lot of talk. So, in terms of squad selection, I see folks in the comments talking about the squad selection has been one of the big issues with El Loco Bielsa. And we do talk about that every single, international window. We talk about squad selection. There's certain players that get called up and certain that don't. For example, Rodrigo Salazar, why is he not getting called up? Why has Pacha Espino, who's a left back, not been getting called up? He plays in Europe. He's been at the top of his game for a lot of years, but you're having Marcelo Sarachi, who plays at River Plate, starting today. So
I agree. But to jump on that, those two examples in general, I think you're right, by the way. But Espino, a couple of years back, I was right with you. Not anymore. Also because he's been injured a lot. I mean, he's even injured now. Salazar, the unfortunate thing with Salazar is now for 2 or 3 times he's been picking up injuries just before the national break, and which is also the case this time around. So it's infuriating because I want him to be there, and there have been occasions where he wasn't picked. For example, in the Copa America, where he should have been, in my opinion. But now there's no blame there for Bielsa because he was not able to pick him. But in
Exactly.
general, I mean, it's funny because we all, and you especially, and you had the confidence in both of them, even when others didn't really have the confidence. And I'm talking about Maxi Arajo and Sebastian Cáceres. Cáceres especially. I was a big doubter of him. But Bielsa called him up, gave him an opportunity, and they both responded exceptionally well. And I would say Arajo, it's been up and down the last few months, but in this first like 6 months, it was really good. But after that, many of the like surprise call-ups or gambles, they haven't paid off for Bielsa, and that's just been something which for me it's been lingering on now. And the problem is you can have a gamble, give an opportunity to a player, and it doesn't pay off. It can happen, I mean, not everything works out, but the problem with Bielsa for me is that he doubles down with Oliveira, for example. And that's why I don't like the lack of flexibility and a dogmatic approach for Bielsa, not only in his team selections, but also in the way he approaches football. That's my criticism of him. It's always been the case, even from when he was starting. It's not that I want him gone. That's just not that's out of the question for me. But these are things that it's been developing in the last few months, and it's worried me. Before you coming back in, I'm gonna go through a few comments here. Habib says hi guys, and he says must win today. A goal or two will be nice. Absolutely, and Habib, thanks for being here. I think I recall you being also on the watch along I did for the opening game in the Copa. So good to have you back here. Toe27 says, hey David, it's Danny. Why is Sarachi getting called up on Uruguay in 2024? Laughing out loud. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because it's not like he's been an undisputed starter for Boca even. Yeah, the only thing I would say is that the left back options compared to like 2 or 3 years ago haven't been that great for Uruguay. You have Oliveira, but obviously Oliveira is someone that is also being used as a center back, as he's probably going to be tonight. So that's why I understand why Sarachi can come in. Because, by the way, I would Daniel, maybe you can come in here. I would have preferred Olatza actually to be called up. But Espino wasn't an option now. But what do you think about the Sarachi call up?
I mean, personally, I haven't seen him play that great when he's on the national team. And I don't see him play too much at his club either. So I'm a little confused by that. But I understand, why that call up. Obviously, I think Matias Viña is injured. He would have been the natural starter at left back with Oliveira playing that center back. But have you had, Ronald Araujo or, Seba Cáceres, who I think are both injured as well, on the lineup? One of those two guys would have started at center back, and then Matias Oliveira most likely would have started at left back. So, I think all this is due to injury. But let me tell you, man, that worries me a little bit because Colombia is a really good attacking team. So, we need to be really, really solid in the back. And Sarachi to me looks like to be the weakest link, and I hope he surprises us all.
Well, that's a good point because he's a bit of an unknown quantity at the moment for us. Because he's made some cameo appearances, but I mean, what can you judge on that? That's hard. It's hard. It's because it's not been like it's been 40 minutes. It's mostly been 7 or 8 minutes. So then Toe, and I guess Toe is Danny because I think he mentioned it there. Yeah. Okay. He says I've been saying squad selection, especially depth option and game management, isn't good enough. No, it's been a problem lately. I think we can agree on that. Facundo says, especially with the results that Paraguay, Ecuador, and Venezuela got yesterday, it gives today's game even more importance. Yeah, and just to be, I mean, I guess most people here are aware of the recent games and the standings, but we can just pull them up. So last night, 3 games were played. Venezuela at home against Brazil, 1-1. Paraguay beating Argentina 2-1, huge result for them, obviously. And then Ecuador beating Bolivia 4-0 in Quito, in Ecuador. I mean, Paraguay. The thing with Paraguay is that they have always, or in my time of following Uruguay, they've been known as this defensive team that can grind out the results, but are not easy to watch. They don't have a lot of players that inspire you or that you're really watching for. But now they have, especially two guys, Diego Gomez and Julio Enciso, coming through. These are players that actually, I believe, can be top level. And Diego Gomez, you obviously you follow Inter Miami. Uh, I remember him playing in this the Pre-Olympico tournament, doing really well, scoring a great goal against Uruguay. But for Inter Miami, every time I watch Suarez play and I've seen him play, I'm impressed.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been unbelievable, and there's a reason why Brighton's paying, I believe it's $18 million for him. So I mean, he's from when he first got to Inter Miami, which was about a year and a half ago, to now, he's turned into a completely brand new player, and I think that Preolímpico that he played at really got him kind of catapulted to this new level. But yeah, man, the standings right now are pretty rough, man. Everybody is kind of right in there. You have 10 points between first and ninth and eighth place. And three of us, Uruguay, Ecuador, and Paraguay, all tied with 16. Obviously, with Uruguay waiting on today's game. So 3 points today would put us into second place in a tie with Colombia. And I think they're 3 big points in terms of getting ourselves qualified to the World Cup.
No, absolutely, I agree. I mean, and if we just look ahead through next year,
yeah, we have Argentina, and then I believe we go to Bolivia.
That's the thing. I mean, this is a really tough double header. But if you look further, I mean, at home against Argentina, and then Bolivia away, I mean, you need to actually get a result here. That's really what it boils down to. And Bielsa for sure, because Bielsa cannot go today and not get a result, and Brazil not get a result, and then have the pressure to win or get a result at home against Argentina, and then go to Bolivia. I mean, it's.
What's funny though is that we're talking like this today, but let's say 6 days from now, 5 days from now, Uruguay wins against Colombia, Uruguay wins against Brazil. Yeah. They have 22 points, and they're sitting in second place. The conversation is going to be completely different going into the Argentina-Bolivia games, because you're going to have, 22 points. You're going to be sitting nice at the table, and you could afford, to maybe get a tie against Argentina, to possibly get a tie or lose in, I don't even want to call it altitude, because literally it's the closest stadium to space in the world. So I still don't understand how FIFA allows people to play there.
I agree with it. I think it's part of the qualifiers, right? But to your point, yeah, in 6 days we could be talking about a completely different reality. But if you base, and I think we have to base it on the past performances and on also the team that's playing tonight, it's not like that is like, if I can give a percentage to it, I wouldn't go above 50, of probability. Also, I mean, I love that Bentancur is back, because Bentancur, if you take the last 5 years of Uruguay, I think he's been the most consistent performer for Uruguay. And also probably the best performer. So that's a big one. But that still leaves problems for me at the back. You touched on the left back position. I'm really curious as to how Nandes is going to perform, because even in the Copa, while people love his passion, I love it. Don't get me wrong, but even during the Copa, and it has continued in the qualifiers, he is too reckless, and he is a problem for Uruguay. Can be a problem. I don't say he's a problem, because he's obviously a good player, and someone who brings a lot to the team. But he can be a problem in these type of games, and certainly now when playing against Bolivia, against really tricky players like Luis Diaz. I hope he can handle it, and he's handled it before, by the way. I mean, I remember last qualifying cycle, Uruguay playing at home against Bolivia, goalless draw, and he handled Luis Diaz quite well. So it's not like he cannot do it. That's not what I'm saying. But for me, certainly now in Saudi Arabia, I'm a bit, I don't know. For me, the opportunity was here to get Mateo Ponte in. I know he's not been getting an awful lot of minutes for Botafogo lately, although he's had some good moments this season. But still, he's the future for me at the right back position. But to bring, and maybe you don't like it because he's national through and through. But if you bring Jose Luis Rodriguez in, you know, it's like, what are you doing here? This is like he was a prospect like 5 years ago, someone who we really believe was a good player, was someone who's gonna to go on to do big things, but didn't happen for him. Still not happened. Mateo Ponte, with his under 20 campaign in the back, both at the Sudamericano and World Cup, where he displayed exceptional quality, bring him in. He doesn't have to play straight away, but bring him in and work for the future. But that's another thing that I don't think Bielsa is doing that well. And you can also conclude that out of the fact that Aguirre is coming in. And that's with all due respect to Aguirre, but he's not someone who's going to be a player that Uruguay is going to rely on in tournament football in big games if everybody's fit, because he's not of that quality.
Well, and I think you bring up, I mean, you said it right at the end of your point there, if everybody's fit. And I think that's been the biggest issue, at least within the last, let's say, two windows. Remember, the first window, you had all the suspensions that resulted from the Copa America. So
Yeah.
it was kind of tough to put together a team. You know, you had the whole Suarez thing with the retirement and him playing his last game. And then the next window, you know, you go away to Peru, should have gotten the 3 points. The team played okay in the first half, then was, you know, awful in the second half.
Do you think we now? Okay, we have a different opinion once again, but do you think we should have won the game? I didn't think so, to be honest. I think it would draw was probably the best result or the most fair result, but I didn't think we didn't create a lot, to be honest. They didn't either, by the way. But
no, we didn't. But I think, I mean, obviously Uruguay, I think, played better in the first half. They had a couple of chances where they score. If they do get those goals, I believe we had one or two very clear opportunities. If they get those and they go into the half with a 1-0 or 2-0 lead, I believe they go on to win the game. Now, the fact that they missed those opportunities, and they've been doing that game over game over game, and they've gotten lucky that the other teams haven't capitalized, and we've gotten some draws, you know, scoreless draws. But in that specific game, look, you allowed the team to stay within the game, the fans get excited, and they put one on you, you know, in the last 10, 15 minutes. And you've seen that happen, you know, time after time in world football. So look, Uruguay usually starts out pressuring early and trying to get a goal early. I hope they can get a quick one today. And if they can, that'll allow them to sit back and play kind of like that dominating, ball soccer that Bielsa wants them to play. And it won't, you know, we won't have to deal with what you said, the craziness of Nandes going forward and not coming back and marking Luis Diaz, which we know is absolutely deadly on the left flank. So I think getting a goal early today is extremely key, because if you let Colombia hang in, they have a lot of deadly players and they play very well. So you don't want to give them any opportunities.
no, yeah, absolutely. I mean, to score early in any game would be good, but this one for sure, because Colombia doesn't also concede an awful lot of goals. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But yeah, I think for that to happen, Uruguay have to start creating chances, and that's a problem. That's probably the biggest problem in the last few games, because yeah, perhaps in Peru there have been a few half chances, but in general, Uruguay haven't been able to create good chances. In the first half against Ecuador, there were some better chances, absolutely, and that's, by the way, I mean, we can talk about creating chances, but sometimes you also have to take a half chance. That's another thing, and that's, I mean, we can talk about Darwin, for example. When you talk about the semifinal against Colombia, before Colombia opened the score, Darwin had two really decent opportunities. I'm not talking about one-on-one like a big chance, but I mean, what do you want? We're talking about a semifinal of the Copa. You don't get chances that easily. But the big players, and Darwin is a good player, but this was a game where I saw that he's not where we want him to be yet. Because if you are a player that take Uruguay to titles and to big victories, you finish these chances in the first half against Colombia, because that's what big strikers do.
Yeah, 2012 Suarez would have put both of those in the back of the net.
Absolutely.
So you're right on. You're right on. He's we talk a lot about Darwin Nunez. There's a lot in social media. I agree. He's a good player, but he hasn't taken that next step to be great because he's not finishing those opportunities. And if he wants to be considered great, he needs to start finishing those opportunities. And for us, I mean, he's been the only one that scored the goals. I believe he has almost 1/3 of Uruguay's goals so far. I think he has 5. Uruguay has scored 13. So he has more than a third, almost half of Uruguay's goals in this eliminatoria. Either he needs to keep scoring or we got to find somebody else to score.
No, that's good point. Because when you look at the wings, I mean, that's the problem also. The productivity from the wings, the end product, it's not there in the recent games. But let's get through some comments because appreciate all of you being here. By the way, really nice to see you get involved in the chat. And if you're just listening us talk some bollocks about football, it's also okay. But okay, Maturo can play at left back. It's true. Maturo has been playing for Genoa recently, also due to injuries, by the way. And he's been playing as the left-sided center back in the back three, but he can also play left back. I mean, he was great in the World Cup, in the Under-20 World Cup, and he played as like a one-man left side of the field. It was great, and that's Juve level, I know, but he would have been an alternative to Saracchi for sure. Please let Brazil win. Brazil edition, okay? Hello, man. Good to see you here. By the way, I just seen that the starting 11 has come in, and it's what we've been seen from Rodrigo Vasquez. So Aguirre is being played here as the number 10. I'm doubted that he's actually going to be a proper number 10, but it's Rochet, Nandes, Jimenez, Oliveira, and Saracchi as the back 5. Then it's Bentancur, Valverde, Aguirre ahead of them, and Pelistri and Araujo as the wingers, and Darwin up top. So as we expected, I mean, it's a team that obviously I think it's good enough to get a result, but it all boils down to how actually we are looking. How are we going to perform in the attacking third with this lineup now, or with these 4 front players, attacking players? Yeah. Okay. Hakundo says, imagine having Josema, Araujo, and Maturo at the back line. What a unit. That back line, that these 3 men, and you can even throw in Boselli instead of someone else. I'm not saying he's there yet, but it could be for sure. But these 3, if you work with them, you like make sure that they're like in harmony. They get their positioning right and stuff like that. That is a fantastic back 3, for example, like incredible. Araujo at the right, Josema in the center, Maturo at the left side. It's like insane. You have everything there: footballing ability, physical ability, technical nous. They can be able to drop back, but they can also play with a high line. Everything is there.
Yeah. And you're also missing Santiago Mourinho. That he's not in the lineup. He was called up in the last time, but that's another guy who I feel like needs to be getting called up in front of some of these other guys that are getting the call up.
That's a good point. Mourinho is not, and the thing with him, unfortunately, is that he's not. He has started, I think, 2 games, so it would be ideal for him to win his place and then hopefully be able to get back into the squad in the March and the next year's qualifiers. Because when you talk about a back 3 and someone who has this physical capability, the speed, but also quite a decent player on the ball. And he's still really, as 22, I think he is, 21, 22. So, I mean, there are a lot of options when it comes to center-backs for Uruguay. Okay, Nico Mosquera, thanks for being here, man. He says, I know Uruguay's results are the most important, but teams getting points against Argentina and Brazil isn't good because in the end, Argentina and Brazil will qualify. So who cares if these teams win?
70% of the teams qualify. So I know that we like to analyze game by game, and because we are diehard charruas. But the reality is if Uruguay can't place in the top 7 in CONMEBOL, then like what are we doing, guys? Right?
No, this point for Nico, it's like if you make it in the old context, I agree with you fully, because it's worrying for sure. Because if you look at the table right now, if Uruguay don't win this international break, we could have slipped out of the top 5 or top 4 very easily, and then it's a problem. But like Daniel says, now it's less of a problem. I mean, still, I still agree with the fact that you don't want to finish 6th or 7th. You don't want to scrape through in this format for sure, because it's like embarrassing. But it's less of a problem right now, and perhaps it's more hopeful for Uruguay that or for South America in general, the qualifying cycle, that is more competitive this time around. Because Argentina, even though they're still top and they still picked up a lot of points, they have been struggling in games. It's not been easy. For example, like it's not like it's been easy before, but it was easier for them. For Brazil, for example, it was quite easy for them on their teacher. They had qualifying cycles or one actually 2018 one where they like obliterated the field. I can recall, or maybe it was 2022. Maybe I'm getting mixed up here. But anyway, they didn't really drop points anymore. Of course they did, but like their margin of error was like maybe a draw away to Bolivia, a loss or a draw against Argentina. But they were faultless at home. They picked up most points away from home, and it's nice to see Brazil struggling now, and also Argentina to be able to be defeated by Paraguay or away from home. It's good for the competitivity of South American football. So yeah, I like it actually. Double cinco of Ugarte and Bentancur with Valverde at attacking midfield seems like the most ideal midfield. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded actually. I mean, I think Valverde is not the number 10, but with the options right now, I think it would have probably worked. I mean, when I was thinking about it yesterday, I even remember Bentancur playing as a number 10 at the 2018 World Cup, or not really number 10, but most advanced midfielder anyway. And I don't see that happening right now, by the way. But it's both of them. They have the ability to move further up the field for sure. But seems like it's not happening. And by the way, I mean, I think it's gonna work out Valverde and Bentancur as the two central midfielders. But both of them, they're not ideally suited to be the least advanced midfielder. Bentancur needs in general to have a sitting midfielder or a more least advanced midfielder besides him, and that's why he's been struggling for Spurs in some games this season, because there's been times where he played as the holding midfielder, and Kulusevski and Madison has been either side of him. But when that happens, and it happened at Juventus, he's struggling because he's a great player, but he is not reliable enough to be the sole holding midfielder. He needs someone besides him. And Valverde, on his part, he's a great box-to-box midfielder, and he can play as the most holding midfielder, but it's not his strength. And that's why Torreira was really good when he came in for Uruguay back a few years back, and that's why Ugarte needs to be still in that midfield. And so we could see how this is unfolds, but it could be a problem today. Let's see. Facundo Gonzalez says Nandes does do reckless stuff at times, but he's the heart of the team. No one, and I think Daniel, you can come in as well. No one obviously doubts the desire and the heart he has and the devotion he has to the team. I wouldn't ever do that. But there's some times where his passion or devotion is it transforms into recklessness, but also a threat to our team actually in how our solidity as a back line, but also in terms of his discipline, being sent off or stuff like that. So yeah.
I mean, I agree. Sometimes, a player can have all the passion that he wants, but it just doesn't translate onto the field. And just to echo what you said, I mean, yeah, sometimes all that passion can turn into pressure, and then the pressure can affect the play on the field. So I mean, I'm with you. And look, I don't doubt that any of the guys that have been called up have a desire or lack any desire to want to represent Uruguay. But nowadays, that's not the only trait. We've always said in the past, the garra charrua is what kind of put us over. But yeah, it does. But you still need to have some talent and some players and stuff like that. So we're going to continue talking about it, I'm sure, in every single international window, because we're going to keep seeing some of these players being called up. But let's see what they do with their club teams, and let's see if they can shut us up.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. And Danny says there, Israel for Rochette. It's an opinion many have been voicing. Daniel's nodding with his head, and there's no club interest here because they're both national. No, joking, but yeah, for me, Franco Israel for me is the future for Uruguay. But I actually I read a comment on Twitter on X early today who said, yeah, that he also had the how do you say preferred Israel, but for the moment, in the moment Uruguay's living, it doesn't really help to get Rochette out because he's established, and also he's doing really well in Brazil at the moment for Internacional. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I actually tend to agree with that, even though I prefer Franco Israel, and I think we have to try to get him in and work him up to be the number one of Uruguay. But I think, you also like Rochette to be the number one right now, right, Daniel?
Yeah, and I agree. Israel is definitely the future. But, I mean, you can't play the future. Where you have to play the present. And the present is Rochette. Rochette has been and is going through a great time. Yeah, he had a couple of maybe goofball plays in the Copa America and maybe during the Eliminatoria, but he's been pretty strong. I think he was very close to breaking Masulkevich's record of having a goal at 0 for most consecutive minutes. And that was broken. So, I mean, you got to respect that. And like you said, he's playing great for Internacional right now. So because of the moment and because of the experience, I think you have to go with Rochette over Israel.
And you're referring now to the record for Uruguay, right? But
yes.
Because, I mean, probably you're more aware of this than me, but didn't he break the same or similar record in the Uruguayan league right? When he was playing for Nacional. Yeah.
That's right.
I love these kind of records, man. Because I remember Cristian Palacios, when was doing really well for Peñarol, he was like threatening the record of Fernando Morena, I think. Because Uruguay obviously have a great footballing history, and there are some kind of mythical figures who I know way less of than some of you in the chat and you, Daniel, but I also obviously know who they are. And Moreno is an example. The goalkeeper I'm not gonna pronounce because I don't know how to pronounce, but these are like these mythical figures in Uruguayan football, like Otilio Forela, of course. So yeah, it's always great to see the parallels in history. Yeah. Okay, Gabi says. Is it Gabi Alvarez? I'm not sure if it's him, but otherwise, good to see you here, man. Next time we will see you in the live stream as well. But maybe you're not the Gabi I have in mind, by the way. But okay, so Bielsa says, or Gabi says, Bielsa thinking is probably Fede, Benta, Ugarte, midfield is too defensive. Who is the creative offensive player of the three? West de la Cruz, Sarasqueta would have been fit. It's a good point, actually. But for me, I wouldn't mind it because you're playing Colombia. You want to pack the midfield. Bentancur, Valverde, they both can create, by the way. I get what you're saying, by the way. They're not the most creative. They're not the most creative midfielders, but mainly because they're not known for it explicitly. So they're way more well-rounded and good defensively. But Darasqueta, for example, he's known for his creative spark. And that's why, obviously, we refer to him as an offensive midfielder. But Valverde, obviously, he has a lot of creative ability. But your point stands, and I understand what you're saying. But that could be the reasoning for sure behind why Bielsa has not opted for these three men in midfield.
I would have preferred that midfield, to be honest with you.
The Ugarte, Bentancur, Valverde.
Yeah, I agree with the comment right there by Facundo. I mean, I think both, and I said it there. Fede, Fede, when he gets the opportunity, Valverde at Real Madrid, he's box to box. He gets the chance to be creative. He also gets to play right wing. So, I mean, he can be offensive. Just right now in the system that Bielsa is using him for, he's using him kind of as kind of almost like a defensive center midfielder, and he hasn't gotten the opportunity to go up like he used to before. There was a time, and I think it was when we played Brazil. In the same qualifier at home, I was at the game, and I think that was our starting midfielder, and maybe it was Nico de la Cruz, but I think it was those three, and I just think they move so well together. They're all very quick, they're all very scrappy, and personally, I would have rather that midfield three than what we're currently getting today.
Yeah, No. You're right that he had more attacking urgency in some games earlier. Certainly, in earlier in the qualifying cycle, he was like I remember. I think he scored obviously in one of the first games. I think it was Chile. He scored the goal from the edge of the box, and he's been more subdued when it comes to attacking
Yeah.
offensively. Yeah,
And in
but
the
I
World
was
Cup, in 2022
2022.
World Cup,
Yeah.
yeah, Bentancur, you saw him, getting inside the box a lot. You mentioned it earlier. And then when he was playing in the Copa America, again, you saw him kind of getting closer to the box and being that more kind of funnel between the defense and the forwards and kind of helping out the midfield there. And he can play that role. Just uh, I don't know. Bielsa does this to you. Now we're getting closer to game time. The nerves are setting in. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go make some mate.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. I've had some coffee because it's like it's almost 12 o'clock here, so otherwise I would, or it's almost midnight here, so I wouldn't be able to stay away, stay alive basically.
You got to
But
drink the mate,
yeah,
man. That mate will keep you up
yeah,
all
I
night.
don't. I have to try it. I have to try to get it here because obviously where I live, it's not like something you pick up in the store or something. But I have to
No,
try it
but
still.
but
Yeah.
but we can get some shipped your way. That's not a problem. We'll make some arrangements offline. We'll make some arrangements
Oh, that's
and
just because
and
I never tried it.
I'll
I've never
shoot you
tried
my
it.
video. No, I'll shoot you my video. I'll send you a mate and a
Okay.
bombilla, and I'll send you my video on how to make it, and you're good to go.
No, that's good. That sounds good, man. Honestly, yeah. Yeah. Okay, Aksai says here, Colombia playing their strongest 11, and I read your comment earlier, and I was actually looking just a few moments ago, but they have not. I think they've not announced it yet. So, but I'm sure they will. I mean, there's no reason why they wouldn't.
There is one announcement that I did read. Apparently, I don't know if it's 100% true, but there was something that I read. Apparently, Juanfer Quintero is going to be starting for
Hmm,
Colombia, and that's apparently due to the strong play that he's had for Racing in the Copa
yeah,
Sudamericana. So that could be an option for them to start. But I would assume that they're starting everybody, James, Luis Diaz, and the rest of their big guns.
last of some of their insufferable players. For example, Richard Rios. So let's see. Okay, Facundo says, "Bro, what happened to Gaston Alvarez?" Yeah, I mean, he went to Saudi to get some good money, and who can blame him? I mean, it's a shame. Personally, as someone who watches football and who's seen him uh, join Getafe from Boston River, been able to to cement himself as a good player there. It's a shame, but I somehow understand, or I don't somehow understand. I fully understand why he would do it. But yeah, it's so he's there. Maybe he will come back in a year or two. I mean, it's just like Saudi is not. It's been proven that players do come back quite quickly at some occasions. But for me, same with Fabricio Diaz, it's not the right move to make at that age. And people can say to me, and they have this is the rationale behind some, and then they say from, well, they want to secure the future of their families, and I fully understand that. But if you back yourself as a player, you can progress in your career. You can make a lot of money in football, even at in Europe. Obviously, in Spain, the Spanish division, you can make a lot of money. So yeah, it's just, each to his own. And I do respect it fully, by the way, but didn't like to see it.
Talking about players who have disappeared. I mean,
Fabricio
what
Diaz,
bigger?
yeah, yeah,
I was gonna say, what
yeah.
bigger name than Fabricio Diaz? I mean, wow.
I mean, come on. I mean, and I can understand because obviously most of these players do come from a background where they don't make a lot of money or they don't make. So that's why I can understand it. Of sure, of course. But yeah, I mean, somehow, if you back yourself as a player, you believe in yourself. You will know to be successful and you know to make money, or you will make money. But yeah, I cannot put myself in their shoes, and I certainly cannot reject or disapprove of what they're doing, because who am I to say that? Okay. Thomas says, if Uruguay failed to qualify with this format, Bielsa needs to go to jail.
Jail. I mean, I'll bury him in the
No, but
in the British cemetery in Montevideo.
yeah, it's not gonna happen. But if it happens, it's gonna be the biggest disaster of Uruguayan football history, probably. I mean, certainly in modern history. Facundo says, I keep forgetting that 7 teams qualify now. And I think, 7, because the 7th spot is, I think it's still a playoff, right? I'm pretty sure it is a playoff, yeah.
Yeah, it's 6 qualified directly, and the 7th goes to a playoff.
Yeah, so it's good. I mean, Uruguay will qualify for sure. Because let's say, even if we lose 4 straight games now, still, so today against Brazil away, then Argentina at home, then Bolivia away, we could lose them all 4 in this form. I don't think we are, by the way, and I'm not saying we are, but we could theoretically and certainly in the current form we are in. But if we lose all of them, then we have 4 games left, and I'm not precisely sure which games they are, but they are much easier than this run, and we will certainly pick up another 6 point at least, and that will bring us up to 22 points. And in this current format, 22 points will enable you to finish in the top 6, because it used to be that around the 25 points mark was the cutoff point in terms of direct spot and playoff spot. It's mostly been this in recent years, actually. So Uruguay will be fine. Yeah.
And FYI, so there's a new format. I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah, we know.
Of the playoff. Yeah.
The playoff. Okay.
Yeah. There's a new format of the playoff, because I saw somebody asked, who they would play if there was a repechaje. So apparently, I'm researching about it right now. It's gonna be it's basically gonna be 6 teams that are gonna play in it. It's gonna be the 7th team from CONMEBOL, a team who wins a playoff in the Asian Confederation, a team who wins a playoff in the African Confederations, 2 teams from CONCACAF who don't classify directly. So the team of the loser of the Oceania Confederation, and then the people from Europe. And apparently it's going to be like a tournament of 4 games. That's
great.
Kind of weird.
Yeah. But that's great. I mean, I don't want Uruguay to be involved, but that's actually a really good. I mean, for all the stupid stuff FIFA does invent and come up with, this is actually a good format to like make it exciting, for the playoff spots. Okay, I didn't know that. No, I really didn't know that. But that will be exciting, actually, like a mini World Cup to get into.
Yeah, it's a mini World Cup between, I guess, all the the teams that were on the verge of making it, and may the best 2 nations make it, basically, which is, I think that's fantastic. It almost makes it like a almost pre-tournament, pre-World Cup tournament.
No, and that I would tune into that, by the way. I mean, to what that's great. I mean,
it's gonna be 2 semifinals and 2 finals. So essentially, it's gonna be listed by ranking, and the last 4, basically in each one, are gonna play the 2 semifinals, and the other guys will play the other semifinals. So it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be really cool.
That's gonna be great. This is quite. I mean, I don't know why that actually hasn't been like. Not that. I mean, it's not big, obviously, but still, I would have thought that I would have known it, because I follow a lot of these stuff and never read it anywhere. But okay. Underdog says, Luciano, we're gonna go through his comments quickly and then call it a night for as far as the stream goes, because we still have a long night to go. Or for me, it's a night. For Daniel, I think for you it's almost 6 o'clock right there, 6 p.m. right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, gonna have a bite to eat, I guess, first before the game. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. No, go ahead.
I think I'm gonna have some pizza and faina, maybe drink a little beer, and I'm gonna make the mate here before I head over to my parents' house to watch the game. We always watch the game, usually together as a family, or I watch it by myself. I never watch the games in a public place.
No, I get what you're saying, by the way, because some friends know I'm into Uruguay, and they then sometimes opt, well, we can watch together, and I've done this during the World Cup. So I watch, because they don't want to watch qualifiers at 2 o'clock at night, But during the World Cup, they're obviously watching your World Cup, and they say, well, let's watch together. And I've done it once, and it's not nice, because first of all, they are taking the piss always, of Uruguay, because I follow them. So for me, it's either I watch alone or I do a watch along with people. But yeah, I get what you're saying. In public places, it's not the same. But you're watching with your parents and with other family members, or just parents?
Just my parents, my son, my wife, and that's about it, because my brother has to work tonight. So it'll just be us. We're gonna order some pizza, make some faina, just like if we're back in Uruguay, and hopefully that'll be enough to get us a win.
That's a great setup, man. That's good, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, Underdog says Luciano needs minutes, man. Bielsa has wasted so many minutes and time on Kike Oliveira when we could have seen Luciano in action. We haven't
We
seen
agree.
him. Shake my head.
We
Yeah, I mean,
agree.
we both agree on this. That's finally. No, we agree on quite a lot, by the way. But this, and the thing is, I mean, it's true that, and you referred to it earlier, Luciano has not been like scoring week in week out, and it's also because he's not played an awful lot, and he has a good like goal to minute average in Brazilian football, but he's far from the finished article. We all know that. I mean, because I've watched quite a lot of him at Bahia, and he's played games where he's not been convincing. But the thing is, he can do something. He can bring out something out of nothing, create something out of nothing. He has got a great strike in either foot, but especially his right. Obviously, he's so unpredictable. But for example, last weekend I tuned in to watch him play because he's got his first start, I think, since like a few months. Because he's 2 or 3 starts since he's joined, and mostly coming from the bench and doing quite well, but not a lot of starts. And he started this game, I think away to Juventud, but it doesn't really matter actually. And he had this great move, like 2 minutes into the game, like incredible move, eliminating 2 players and getting the crossing for the assist. But then the rest of the game didn't really impact it, and his team didn't play well, but still he could have done more. So he's not a finished article. I don't want to. We know that, but he can bring, I think, a lot more than Oliveira has brought to the team. And what's also the case is that he has the track record of what he did for the under-20 side. And please come in.
I agree. Not only that, but he's a bigger player in terms of stature when you compare him to Pelistri. So he can offer you headers in terms of goals. He can body a player. How many times have we've seen Pelistri extremely fast, right? Extremely fast. But how many times do we see him get bodied out by defenders? And Luciano gives you that other option. Maybe he's a tad bit slower, but he's going to be able to body a defender, maybe cover the ball a little bit better. So, I would love to see him get some minutes. Now, I think both you and I agree that he needs to get out of Bahia and needs to get to a bigger – and this is not a bad against Bahia. I'm just saying that the group that bought him needs to bring him over to Europe, and he needs to start training with the guys in Europe. And I think that will allow him to maybe expand his talent and to kind of, burst out of that bubble that we know he's waiting to burst out of, because he spent a lot of time in Uruguay playing for Liverpool, a lot more than both you and I agree he should have. And we agree that he should have gone to somewhere in Europe, and he didn't, but I really hope he does, because I do think he's the future for this team. One of the bright futures, right? Because there's many.
Yeah, no, for sure. But in terms of attacking players, he's the prominent figure at the moment in terms of young attacking players.
Yeah. There's one guy I want to bring up to you, and you're going to be surprised that I'm going to bring this guy up to you, because he's not a Nacional player. But for what
I was thinking Renzo Sanchez now. I was thinking
no, sir. But for what he's been doing this year in the Uruguay league, and the fact that Uruguay doesn't have a creative player per se in the lineup tonight, or in who Bielsa called. Why not call Leo Fernandez? Maybe he could get you a free kick goal. I mean, he's obviously and last night's goal, I thought the goalie just ate the goal. A nice shot, but I thought the goalie came out wrong there. But look, he set a record. He's playing great. All my Peñarol friends get on top of me. Why don't they call him? And I'm like, no. But I do it to bother them. Yeah, I think he deserves a call up. If there's anybody in the Uruguayan league right now, and especially with seeing who they have on the roster, he deserves to get a call up, because he could have, been a special player, gotten you a free kick goal or something like that. So, and one other guy is Andres Ferrari playing in the Belgian league. That's another guy who I really wish they should start calling, because we need nines, man. We need nines.
It's a good shout to call Leo. I fully agree with you, Leo Fernandez. And the thing with him is, there were times when he was playing with Toluca out of his skin. He should have already been called up way earlier. But it didn't happen because Tabares being Tabares, with all due respect, but it's just what it is. But now, certainly with this situation, why do you not give him the call-up when De La Cruz and Arrascaeta are both out? It doesn't make sense. Because if you look at the team today, instead of Aguirre, you should have always been able to play Leo Fernandez. And yeah, true, there are problems with his physicality. I think if he's ever gonna make a step up to Europe, he needs to go into the gym. Simply, I mean, he just needs to do it because Messi is not the strongest, but Messi is still quite strong. You know, his upper body strength is insane if you think if you look at it actually.
His
Um,
lower body is. I
oh,
mean,
sorry, yeah, low center, yeah.
I've stood next to him. I mean, I think one of his legs is two of mine. That's just muscle.
No,
I mean, he
that's
is
also
just.
no, that's true. That's true. No, for sure. I get that, but the
But
thing
you're right.
is,
No.
is
Even his upper body. I
yeah.
mean,
I mean,
he can kind of and he's built. Yeah,
no,
Leo
that's
needs that.
no, true. And with him, I'm not saying Fernandez doesn't have to be Adama Traore, but what he is now is like an under. I mean, it's a child's body, and
Well, but
that's maybe saying way. I don't mean it like that, by the way, but
no,
it's my
but you're
okay,
right.
in footballing terms. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. But that's a product of the Uruguayan league because they don't have maybe they don't have the technology or the physiotherapist and maybe they do. And maybe it's the fact that and I've heard this, from other, teams within Uruguay that the players only practice like an hour and a half a day and that's it. Like
But
it's not
yeah,
like how it was before. Before, you had a practice in the morning for a couple hours, then you were doing, studying, tape, and then maybe another practice for an hour in the afternoon. But players nowadays are practicing an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then they go home. So,
no,
I
okay,
mean,
it's a good point. But the thing with that is that I don't care about that actually. You know why? Because you're a football player. You gotta make. You gotta do it yourself. Luciano Rodriguez. He's someone who's is incredible shape. He's doing all stuff with. I think it's how do you say this? Is not yoga, but in terms of his breathing mechanisms and how he can focus. All this stuff besides football. He's investing in his own career and. As a football player, I mean, you're a professional football player, so it's no one stopping you actually improving yourself, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever, besides what the club is offering you. And he should do that. Come on. I mean, let's be honest here. And I like him. You know, as one of my favorite players actually following in the last few years, not Peñarol only, but especially at Toluca. I love watching him. You know, I really was one of these players that every weekend I was hoping he was going to do something crazy, which he often did. But yeah. But anyway, your point, I fully agree with Leo Fernandez. Andres Ferrari, a good shout. I think with him and Alvaro Rodriguez, both of them, I want him to be in the Uruguay national team. But it's maybe a little bit too early. Having said that, if you look at the alternatives, why not? You know, what is stopping from them being called up rather than Maxi Gomez, for example? I know he's not on the radar right now, but we have seen Maxi being called up in the last 12 to 18 months. Didn't make sense. So these two, they are part of the future, so it's a good shout for sure.
Or you end up with Kike Olivera starting at 9.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? Okay, Danny says, To27 says we are hosting a post-match Twitter space. I think this is in coordination with or this you both have contact, right, Daniel and Danny?
Yeah.
So I will certainly retweet, link that, and maybe I'll jump on if my eyeballs haven't just like been balled out because it's like 3 o'clock then, 3 a.m. But let's see. Ugarte isn't good enough on the ball to play as lone six. But I mean the thing is, if you play him along with Bentancur, it doesn't really matter actually because it's not like he's terrible on the ball. I mean, he's not Rodri or Busquets, of course he's not, but he can progress the ball quite well. And if he plays with another central midfielder alongside him, it should be absolutely fine. I think anyway.
He's a much more refined version of like a Diego Perez, of a Russo Perez.
Yeah, no, that's a good one actually. And actually, Russo Perez, I mean, he wasn't a great football player, but it wasn't like he was a terrible in possession.
No.
Basic, was just basic, right? I mean, it's okay. Israel's better on the ball and coming out for crosses. Arsketa is a tremendo. Okay, yeah, that's something that's been thrown at him like a lot. But Cavani was the same, by the way, before he actually started to perform. But Arsketa shout, I somehow get it, but I also think that the way he approaches football and the way he plays football is like so different to what Uruguayans, what I know, actually mostly want to see. They want to see Nandes. Nandes is the quintessential Uruguayan footballer. Tarasqueta, I mean, I actually wrote an article about him like a few years ago, and that he's been brought up in the land of the relentless goal scorer and the hard man at the back, and he's this fine player that he relies on the quality in his feet rather than the force of his body, and that's okay. But it's just not a great fit when it comes to the Uruguayan DNA. But he's still a great player, and he's still in some games during his Uruguay career, he was let down by his teammates in terms of his chances being. He created a lot of chances, but it wasn't converted into goals. When I think about the Copa America in 2019, Tarjeta in the game against Peru in the Copa America, in the quarterfinal, sorry, Uruguay had 2 goals called off for offside, which were questionable. But in this game, in general, Uruguay had a lot of chances, and Tarjeta created almost all of them, but they weren't converted. And if a game like that pans out differently, and he's got 2 assists, for example, and Uruguay go to the semifinal, and I think Chile was the opponent in the semifinal for Peru, and Uruguay go through to a final, we're talking about a completely different story of Tarasqueta in the national team. So there are fine margins. I'm not saying he's been perfect in his Uruguay career. Absolutely not. But he's not a pecho frio or whatever, however you pronounce that, in my opinion.
A cold chest?
Well, yeah, I know the translation I get, but I wanted to get it right. But
no, but I mean, look, I know it's more of like a Uruguayan saying, like when the guy's not performing or when he doesn't show, because sometimes when he's on the pitch, he just looks disinterested, or he looks like he doesn't want to play, or he gets lost. But then there's other times where he puts a ball or he takes the shot, it hits the crossbar, and you're like, why is that guy all the time? So I understand why you can call him a pecho frio, but I criticize players, but the more I get into this profession of journalism and sports reporting and stuff, I see how unfair it is to players, and I try not to come at them as much by putting them down, because it's just, I guess it's just not the right thing to do. But I can see why fans do it.
No, I fully agree with you. And the thing with him, like you also mentioned, is like his body posture, the way he the kind of energy he conveys is someone laid back, not that intense. And then people add this thing together and say he doesn't have the heart for the team or for the country, which is an easy thing to say. And I don't think in this case it's actually fair. But yeah, I mean, I think it's part of the conversation, players not performing well. And this is one of the favorite phrases, I think, of football fans in Uruguay, right? Pecho frio, yeah. Because I heard it from whenever I got into Uruguay. It was one of the first phrases where I thought, what is this all about? Not familiar with it, but yeah. Okay. Charlie Williams says, Bielsa is holding Valverde back, get him behind Darwin, and we will see some magic.
I agree.
Yeah, perhaps. I'm gonna go through the comments right now, because we've been going for an hour and we're gonna finish it up right now. Aksai says, what's your score prediction? Daniel, what's yours?
I'm gonna go 2-0 Uruguay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go 1-1. I don't want it, but I think it's gonna be 1-1, to be honest. So yeah. Right. And Aksai says, I'm a Man United fan, hoping Ugarte to have a good match. Cheers. Absolutely, and nice to see you here, by the way. Hopefully Amorim is gonna sort some things out over there. It's been a long time coming. Okay. The Uruguayan heroes needs to come. This is Uruguay. Maybe we have to do it one day for sure. I'm going to the 2026 World Cup. I mean, still need to save up money for that, but I got 2 years. But that's what I'm gonna do, and probably link up with Daniel and Alessandro. I would love that. So yeah. Nicolas says, hey David and Daniel, at this point, if we had a 100% fit squad, what would be your starting 11? We have to do this quickly. So I'm gonna say something, and then maybe you can change a couple of positions, or maybe the entire team, depending on how bad my.
I already know my starting 11, so you go for it.
Okay, for me, at this moment, Rochette Israel. Like I said, we went through it earlier. Israel's the future. Rochette is okay now. Perfect. So I would say Rochette then. Then we have Araujo, Jimenez. Right back still Nandes, although I would like to see a shift in terms of the new generation coming through. Left Oliveira. Then it would be Ugarte, Valverde, Bentancur. It's hard because I want to have a more creative outlet like De La Cruz and Rasqueta, but for now it's for me that midfield. Then it would be Luciano, Darwin, and Maxi Arajo. I think that's what where I'm at right now. It's not fixed, right? But it's like something like that. Yeah.
I'm exactly what you have, except for I would start De La Cruz instead of Pelistri, and I would just allow him to play loose, like
Okay.
completely loose, just
Yes.
to give us another offensive option. But that would be my only
So
change.
instead of Luciano Pelistri, you placed. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a good call. But yeah, I get what you're saying because Darwin also likes to roam a lot, and yeah. Okay. Daniel says take out free kicks and Leo Fernandez is bang average. Uh, no, that's not the case. I mean, do you remember the true ball he gave? I'm not sure which game it was in Libertadores, but it was like insanity. He's a great player, great player, not just free kicks, but physically he's struggling in certain games. In Brazil, he struggled, for example, although he did show some quality over there as well. Alvaro Rodriguez should have went to Portugal. Yeah, or maybe the Segunda in Spain would also be a good opportunity, good option. I have to go, guys. Uruguay Noma. Thanks, Danny, for being here, man, and we'll speak to you soon. Luciano for Pelistri and Ugarte for Rodrigo Aguirre in the second half. Well, Luciano is gonna come on for sure, but probably with 2 minutes to go.
I
But
was gonna say if Bielsa decides to make subs.
yeah, no, that's another
Man,
thing. Yeah,
we complained about Tavares not making subs, and now Bielsa doesn't do it either. So
no. Okay, Leo says I think that Arrascaeta's performance in the national team is tied to the coach's tactics. He didn't really fit Tavares and Bielsa's tactics. It's a good point because if you remember, Alonso actually probably was one of his best periods in the national team during Alonso's era. So it's a good point. I think number 10s, like historically, certainly Ana Tavares have struggled, like creative midfielders. I'm talking about them. Castro Ramirez, Nicolas Lodero. They all really struggled. They weren't able to show their A game for Uruguay, in my opinion. And then Leo with the final comment. I think it's interesting how Uruguay in the 20s, 30s, and 50s, during their golden years, were a very technical team. We were first to make the ballet triangulations in that time period. Okay, yeah. I read the book from Martin da Cruz about From Beauty to Duty in the early years. So I recall a little bit of the revolutionary style, certainly the Scottish style that was brought to Uruguay. So yeah, Uruguay were renowned for playing great football back then, really like showing the crowds in Paris and Amsterdam this like new style of football that was not anything they've seen ever before. So yeah, it's true, but this is a long time ago. If Uruguay is going to be successful, it's going to have to be the greatest. Yeah, okay.
I'm reading this book right now.
Okay, that's great, man. This is really interesting, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about Schiaffino, the Uruguayan player. It's fantastic.
Is this also about the spirits in Italy? It's like a full career portrayal, I guess, or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me know what that is. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not in English, but otherwise I would probably buy a copy. Or maybe it's a good way to improve my Spanish. But okay, Daniel, man, thanks for being here. Was a nice chat. Went like over an hour, so a little bit longer, but it's good. Hopefully, you can have some good meal right now, and we can both enjoy the game.
Absolutely, man. Cheers, and thank you for having me. And hopefully, we do it again before Brazil.
Absolutely, all good, man. Okay, guys, thanks for being here. We'll speak to you probably before the Brazil game because it's good to be back and to have a chat. Alessandro and Gabe will probably be back on as well. Yeah. So once again, appreciate you being here, sharing your opinions, having a good discussion, getting into some spicy topics. It's always great. And yeah, let's hope in let's say 2-3 hours, we will be happy and see Uruguay finally win for the first time in, I think it's since the group stage, right, in the Copa. So yeah, let's hope that's be the case. Okay, guys, bye-bye.